the I Am a Podcast with Loretta and Bianca. Stories, advice and discussions to resource, encourage and support independent music artists. Hello and welcome once again to the I Am a Podcast. Well, we have part two, talking about something that's sometimes tricky but necessary for independent artists, the topic of PR and promotion. Well, in this week's episode, we're going to be covering blogs and online press, how to write your own press release, getting on playlists, having a plan for your campaign, touring as PR and getting some early radio play. So get comfortable, sit back and enjoy.
What do you think about having loads of sort of online blog features? Because when I released No Fear Here, we did get loads and loads and loads, over 100, way over that, of sort of features on blogs. But I'm not sure how helpful those are. What do you think?
I've been asked this before, actually. They're like, what does that do in terms of your success? Does it make you sell more music or be more known? And actually, if I'm honest, I don't think it does, but I do think it's worth it. And here's why. I think that it's really important. A bit going back to what CK was saying, you need to be an artist and look like an artist, and people need to be able to put your name into Google and see a load of articles come up. And that might not sound like enough of a payoff, but it really is. I don't want to be looking up an artist and I can't find anything
or your
on them.
article's like 6 years old or something.
Exactly. And you can sometimes get some of these people who write these blogs are so passionate about music. I know for yours, you got some write-ups where somebody had listened to every single song and almost written a thesis on what they thought. And when you hear somebody talking about your music like that, not only is it, you're like, this is why I do music, but other people will read that. And if just a few people read that and think, God, I need to listen to that album, that sounds amazing. These are music lovers often who do this, and they might not have 50,000 followers, they might only have 50, but you never know where they're going to be in the future. And if they become a fan and then they do start playlisting or other things, they're going to remember you. So I think every connection of people who genuinely connect with you, it's a bit like finding those 100 true fans. It's always worth it. I think it's so worth it to have an online presence out there in the online world. Does it make you sell more? Maybe in the long run, but I don't think that's what you do it for. So I know that might sound a little counterproductive, but I honestly think it's worth it. I don't think it makes you a star overnight.
And so it's kind of understanding the different areas you can go in with, especially paid for PR, or what these PR companies or individuals do. So there can be the online strand, which we're saying that, and I agree, that when somebody Googles you, it'll be great that actually there are other people talking about your release on various different blogs. So there's that particular side of it. Then there's playlisting, and you can pay PR for people to submit your songs through the relationships that they have with these tastemakers and people who own these playlists. They can submit your songs, and there's an opportunity there for your songs to land on a big playlist where there's loads of people listening to it, and they're therefore furthering your reach that way. And that strand is good because you can measure that one quite well, and also you are getting paid from that after it will filter through, and that is income for you. Whereas online blogs, it's hard to measure that.
Yes. I mean, Spotify is just something you have to do now, obviously having yours up there, but there's a few ways that you could do that. Obviously you can submit your own tracks now. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
I mean, I'm going to do it with the next run of singles, but now Spotify for artists are allowing you to submit new releases. So it seems quite easy, actually. You just submit your music at least a week before, as early as you can, so it gives it as much time as it can for these editors to review it. But you submit your music to these editors, and there's an opportunity there to land on some playlists, and that's free. So I think it just is a no-brainer for going forward for everybody to do that. and to not feel
be
crappy.
I'm sure they're going to be absolutely inundated, but you absolutely could be added to some big playlists that way. But I think as well as that, it's really worth trying to identify, either from online, from Twitter or Instagram or other things, people who are tastemakers and who are putting their own playlist together, and contacting them and asking them if they would add it. If you've got any inside contacts who curate lists, because they're not always people who work at Spotify, they're sometimes people who Spotify have asked to do playlists, then getting it to them, and again, as early as possible is just all good stuff. And I would say like way more than a week before, if you can, get your pre-links, because then it means that they've got it in time to get it out on the day for you on some big lists on the release day.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, you know, while he's talking, I was thinking about YouTube, and there are tastemakers on there who have channels, and they find amazing music and they put a picture up or something, and they play the audio and they make a video out of that. And there are thousands, tens of thousands, some channels have hundreds of thousands and even millions of people who follow these channels because they want to hear new music and they love the person that is curating these channels. So even going on a YouTube sort of trawl and finding these people with maybe music that's similar to yours, or even just take a punt and just send it anyway, and there's a potential there for your music to be added to those things, and that's like more people listening to what you do and being able to find you.
So if you are going to be doing your own PR yourself, then one of the things you need to be able to do is to write a press release. So you can, like we said, if you work with a PR company or work with somebody else, they will do that for you. But actually, there is a technique and a way of doing it, but it is fairly simple to do. And we actually did a video on this not long ago on our YouTube channel on how to put a press release together. And because I get so many from working in radio, we thought we would break it down and talk you through that. So have a listen to this.
Hi, my name's Loretta Andrews. I'm a radio broadcaster. I have been an artist in the past. I'm a co-founder of IAMA, and I also help develop artists and manage artists. As well as working in artist development and management, my day job is also as a radio broadcaster. So over the years, I've received probably hundreds of press releases from emerging independent artists who want me to play their music on my radio show. So what do I look for? What turns me on? What turns me off? The first thing, of course, is the music. But the first thing you do when you receive a press release isn't automatically have the music playing. So, of course, I'm going to look at the press release. So it's important to know you've got a barrier to get through before somebody even clicks on your music. You may have the best single ever, but if you turn them off by your press release, they're not going to click on that link. So the first thing I would say is to have a really catchy headline, and not just the title of your single or project and artist name. That doesn't tell me anything about you. If you can, in the title, have a little bit about the genre of music and maybe a quirky fact or story that might be behind your project in particular, the song you're pushing, or maybe the thing about you as an artist. The other thing I think is so important is for an artist to know what is their story for this particular product that I'm pushing. And every piece of music has a story, whether you realise it or not, and you might need to revisit your inspiration for what made you write that particular song or decide to put out that body of work in an EP or album. There will be a story there. Even if you think, well, I don't think that's really interesting to anyone else, that is actually the thing that's going to make somebody even more invested in your music. Again, as I say, you may have the best single ever, but if you've also got a story, when I hit play in my radio show to play your latest single, I've also got something really interesting to say about you and to say about your music. Not only does that make my radio show better, so for me as a DJ, I'm like, great, I've got some good content for my radio show. It also means the listener is going to remember you as an artist and remember your music as well. So think about what is your story as an artist and what is the story of the particular product that you are pushing, and make sure you get that in one line in the first paragraph of your press release. The rest of your press release should be introducing who you are as an artist, a little bit of background about you, your motivations, anything quirky again. Again, what is the story? What's the story about me? I'm not just another singer-songwriter with a guitarist. How am I going to stand out from the other artists and the other press releases that may have landed in this person's inbox this day? I think it's a great idea to include a picture as well, and make sure that picture is really it depicts your brand again. Everything in this press release needs to be helping me to build up a picture of who you are as an artist and what your sound is. So make sure that that picture really conveys your brand in terms of your clothing, the type of shot it is, whether that's outdoors or indoors, if you've got any props in of that as well. A really small thing, but make sure that your press release is really easy to read. No tiny letters. We're so busy, I'm sorry, but we can't be bothered to enlarge that. Make sure it's really easy to read. If possible, make sure it's only one A4 sheet. Some DJs won't be bothered to scroll down, so if you thought, I'm going to finish my press release with my best bit of information, they may not make it that far. That's why you want to get it in your headline and in your first paragraph. Please don't forget to put your contact information and your links there. The amount of times I've received either sometimes still a CD, but often a message in my inbox, and then there's no other contact details and no links for me to point the listeners towards. If you enjoyed that, go and check them out on Facebook or on Twitter or their website. So make sure you put all the information where people can contact you and follow you as well. And just make sure it's clean, and you should get some airplay. And of course, make sure your music is really good.
So that was Loretta there talking about press releases. I think she broke it down quite comprehensively. So I hope that was helpful. But just in summary, writing that in a clear and concise way, hitting all those points is really important. Your imagery is really important, getting the best photography you can, and the largest file sizes. And if you just get all these sorts of things ready, before your release, it's another job that a PR company doesn't necessarily have to do, and you're not necessarily paying somebody else for it. So it's worth sort of learning the art of writing a press release for your releases.
Yeah, and just have a go. You'll get better at it as you go along as well. The next thing we wanted to talk about is scheduling. It's really important to not just have your music, have your press release and just throw it out there randomly, but really think about how you're going to have some kind of campaign and how you're going to roll that out. That might be that you have a plan of releasing 2 singles or 3 singles leading up to your EP, and perhaps you may even have visuals and video for that. So you may even have an audio released one day and the following week you release the video. Again, the whole idea is to bring back to people knowing about your upcoming release of EP or album or something like that. So you can spread things out as much as you like, but the whole idea is to have a structured journey that you're bringing your fans on to the ultimate place of being excited about your release and buying into you as an artist and buying into the EP. So you really want to be looking way before you release to know exactly what dates you're going to be releasing, what you're going to be doing in between, and how that might lead you to promote it. And then of course once it's out, there's also the whole thing of tailing back to something. So you can, a few months afterwards, create a challenge or something that is like a throwback to it, just reminding people that it's still out there, because you don't just suddenly finish. It's always, your music's still going to be out there for people to discover, but you might want to think about follow-up and how you're going to remind people and keep it fresh in a way. Again, that might be another video or a bonus track or some kind of vlog or something like that, or just another creative way to tell people that it's still out there. But again, all of those things before you even start, have in your mind when you want to do them. So it's not just like you release one thing, you're like, oh, what do I do next? But you know what your next 4, 5, 6 moves are going to be.
Yeah, and I also think even just approaching especially your social media or even your mailing list, the emails you're going to send out, like scheduling that for as long as you can. Like, I'm guilty of not doing this. So then you release your music and you have all these posts that you're going to put out, and then you get tired of like doing that, and then you're just like, I just can't do this anymore, and then you're silent for a very long time. But I think it would be helpful to, you have a plan for your career for the next 12 to 18 months, also having a promotional plan as well to go alongside that. So at least you're thinking about it beforehand. Maybe you're collecting imagery and writing some captions in advance. You can use things like Buffer and Hootsuite to even schedule things, and just taking the weight off you in like a month, 2 months, 3 months time, doing whilst you're in that mode of I'm about to release this, I've got all these things to do, and you've got that energy. Maybe putting that energy into engagement that you're gonna be having in months time, and when your energy may be a bit more depleted. So I'm gonna try to do that as I for my next releases, because I do get tired of that, the output after a while. But if I know I just have to press a button because I've done it before, boom.
I think we've spoken about planning ahead a lot, but it really does, in those times when you've got the energy, doing the planning, then you're really going to thank yourself for it when it comes to it.
Yeah, and even if it is, as I said, even if it is just imagery and photos or social media, then you can think about your captions, or just roughly planning out your emailers. I'm going to write this one about this, and mid-year I'm going to write that about that, and just even have just rough plans. At least you're not starting from scratch.
Just a quick reminder that we have a growing library of really useful videos on our YouTube page, including interviews with artists and music industry insiders sharing their experience and expertise. Search IAMA on YouTube or visit our website www.iama.co.uk.
So we wanted to go on to face-to-face kind of promo, because we do talk a lot. Online is such a big thing, but actually
it's still important.
Yeah, and
powerful.
So powerful. One of the most powerful things is touring and actually getting out there with your music. And it's one of those things which is promotion without even seeing it as promotion, because it's what you do, and it's such a big and powerful way, and it's an important cog in the whole design of getting out face to face, reinterpreting your music, and doing that regularly.
I think we can forget that, for music lovers, which all of us are, we can love listening to music, but if you have the opportunity, if you know that your favourite artist is coming to your town, you'll do anything you can to get there, because there's nothing like experiencing them live, and it's not just to hear the music live, but it's to see them, and that's such a powerful form of promotion. Seeing somebody live can sort of carry you through for a year until they come back, so you don't even have to do a lot of touring. But I think when you've got a release, when there's an online presence there and people are beginning to really get intrigued by you and the music, if there's then an opportunity for them to see you live, they're much more likely to come, because you've done the groundwork. It's a brilliant way to finish off a campaign in terms of promoting a product and promoting yourself as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also engaging and meeting new fans, and actually finding territories or areas where you're very surprised that actually these people like my music and what I do. And so it's another way of doing that, where the online sort of things doesn't really work. You can target Facebook adding or Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all those sorts of things to target different territories to see where people like what you do online. But you can do that face to face. You can do a UK tour, go to some different cities. I did that last year. Was it last year that we did that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it was. No, it might not be now.
Well, no,
2017. Yes, and now we have the opportunity to revisit these places where I've made that initial connection and where it went so well. So doing it face to face is a really, really great way of engaging and even networking. So when we think face to face, it's not just gigging and touring and festivals and all that sorts of thing, but it's also maybe going to other people's gigs and enjoying someone else's music and speaking to people in the audience, just like engaging, not for promotion's sake, but just to engage with other human beings. And in that way, you probably people will ask you about what you do, and you're making friends with, or go to friends' gigs and you already have friends there and being introduced to new people, and just keeping that kind of freshness of approach in furthering your reach is important as well.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about radio now. So I work in radio, and I think, like I said earlier, before it was very much a closed shop, and to be honest, it still is with the big stations. The years when you would send in your demo tape and then somebody would listen and play it on their radio show aren't there. But I think because the radio industry has realised that they could be missing some great talent, that's why things like Spotify have started, and certainly that's why we've seen the emergence of things like BBC Introducing, because they want to encourage new talent, but also they realise they need new talent. So there's the machine that is sort of served up to them from the record labels who say play this artist, and there's relationship there, and I'm sure a lot of money involved as well. But they also realise to reflect real music lovers and fans, it's to find emerging artists as well. So BBC Introducing is brilliant for that. Absolutely anybody can upload to BBC Introducing. You can set up an account, upload some music for your city and area in the UK, and it always all gets listened to. You'll get a notification to say that they've listened to it. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play it, but they do listen to them all. But it's a very good way to get some early radio play, because often if your music's good, they will play you. They're on your side. They're not trying to catch you out. They want to discover new great artists. So if your music's good, if it's excellent, it's likely that they will play it. And getting some early radio play there is brilliant, because you can build a relationship with their teams. They're now beginning to have a lot more synergy across the BBC station. So artists who have performed at BBC Introduction, they're nurturing them to sort of move them on in their careers when they have festivals and live events, and feeding them to the bigger stations as well. So they're creating opportunities there. As well as BBC Introducing, I would just recommend you checking out local radio stations and any stations that do shows for unsigned and independent artists. There's a few of those. There's a handbook called Unsigned, actually, which has all labels and things like that, but it also has every radio station that accepts submissions from independent artists, so you can check that out. There's some great online radio stations that specialise in independent musicians. So Amazing Radio is one. I've just forgotten. I've just gone out of my head the name of the other one, but Amazing Radio is a big one. All of these are just a Google search away to find them, and often they will have charts. So those that fans are engaging with, people who listen to these stations are people who want to discover new music, who are into emerging artists and want to find something that's a little bit different from what they're going to be hearing on mainstream radio. So they often will really get behind you, but they can, like I said, they will have a chart. They'll help you to promote yourself. If there's a real buzz around you, then they're going to get behind you as well, because that looks good on their part, because they've helped to discover you as well. Radio, they say, is a dying industry. I say, working in radio, but I think it's always going to be around in some. It may move, more and more online and internet stations, but people love to listen to music in any way they can. And radio stations, like record labels, are realising they have to change the rules to be more inclusive, to keep things fresh, and otherwise people are just going to go elsewhere. So because of that, they are more and more open with these opportunities for independent artists. So it's actually quite a good time to just be excellent and then get your music to these people. There is an opportunity there. It's not it's not really worth doing that. People's careers really have started this way.
And do you get paid for play?
No, you don't. Well, only in so much that if you register your music with PRS, then you'll get pay for airplay from PRS. That's quite a contentious thing as well, about how it's all rated. But I mean, with BBC and all stations, to be honest, will it will have a notification of when your music is played, so you should get paid, but it's not. It'll be more of a trickle than a deluge, unless you're Adele or someone like that. But there is money to be made. You'll get some money. We'll do that in a whole other podcast. But make sure you register your music with PRS and PPL. Very, 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 very important for independent artists if you want to make any money at all.
Yes. Or if you're listening abroad, whatever the Royalty Society is in your territory, make sure you do that. It's an annoying job, but it's worth it. Yeah. I think the main thing that we want to communicate is it's important, and actually to lean into your uniqueness and in your own creativity is probably your way in to doing it in a way that makes you feel okay doing it.
Yeah, and just remembering that there's only one you. I think we've said it a lot, but finding out who you are as an artist is so important, and then staying in your lane and just being you, and that's probably your strongest way to be an artist, but it's also your strongest way to do any of the things you need to do as an artist, to do it in your way. Yes, look at what other people are doing, you might get some great ideas to borrow, but feel free to adapt and do it in the way that's you.
Well, this episode and last episode, we've given you some broad overviews on PR and promotion, and hopefully some helpful tips as well. But next week, we're going to get a whole lot more specific. So we have employed the help of some experts. Next episode, we will be speaking to Maddie and Alex from Burst Demo. If you haven't found them yet on Instagram, do go and give them a follow. They are putting up some great content, great insider tips, real practical stuff to help you specifically with marketing, but also furthering your career as an independent artist. There are special guests on the next episode. They have some real gems of wisdom to share, so make sure you don't miss it.
And don't forget to sign up to our mailing list, where you'll receive a free 10-day guide especially designed to inspire and equip independent music artists with some really useful, practical and inspirational resources. Sign up at www.ima.co.uk.
For more great content from IAMA, find us on social media at We Are IAMA. Check out our Spotify playlist for new music from independent artists. Search We Love Independent Music.